let's get started this evening. First up is Pledge of Allegiance. Mrs. Phillips. I will turn it over to you.
Well, it is my pleasure tonight. We actually have two Maple Grove Stars who are leading the pledge with us this evening, and they're twin brothers who are in fourth grade this year, and they're in Mrs. Maxwell's EL class. I'm proud to introduce David and Dominic Gasper, and they're here joined with their family, Julie and George Gasper, their parents, and their brother Ryan, who's a year younger. It's always a difficult decision to decide who to choose and how to choose, because this is a big honor for the kids to come. And so there are a million reasons I could list for the Gasper family why we chose them. But the boys, although they're very different boys, they're twins, they're very different, but they also have things that are in common. And some of the things that they have in common, they're both very friendly and fun boys. They both are very eager learners. Teachers who've had them in the past share that their passion for learning actually inspires their peers and gets their peers excited to learn about things that perhaps they may not have been as interested in the past, which I think is pretty neat. Both boys last year on third grade I-STEP, they both passed plus in language arts and math both. They're very strong students. In fact, they're both in the extended learning program this year. An additional kind of neat side fact about Dominic, he's doing something that was the first time we've done this at Maple Grove before, but he was ready for some learning challenges that were a little different from his peers in math. And so he is actually doing distance learning with the middle school, and there's been a team of people who've kind of created this opportunity and kind of made it come to life. Mr. Taylor has been instrumental in that, Mrs. Trimble, his teacher, Mrs. Maxwell, and Mrs. Jennings, who's the middle school 8th grade honors math teacher. And so our 4th grade student, Dominic, is taking 8th grade honors math, and he joins them live from a television and a computer, and he joins in and he's able to ask questions and be a part of group work. This is the first week that that's been up and running, and it's just been fascinating to see what can happen when he is working at a level that is appropriate for his needs. So yeah, absolutely. Nice job. So anyway, I just want to recognize them tonight and allow me please to introduce both boys. David, if you will stand up so I don't mix. I told him, I said, I'm pregnant right now, so I'm operating on about 2/3 of a brain, and I called the boys by the wrong names as we were coming up the sidewalk tonight. But yes, and then Dominic, his brother, in the blue. And boys, if you want to come forward, we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Toomey. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Arkanoff, reports.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. This evening we have a report from Zoe Services. And with us this evening is the owner or president and owner of the company, Mr. Greg Huffman. Greg, if you would like to come up. He's going to give us just a quick overview of how things are going. We're a little over a year in our relationship with Zoe, and so we thought it'd be a good time for us to kind of just do a temperature check and see how things are going. So with that, Greg, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Everyone, thanks for having me. I am Greg Huffman. I'm the owner of Zoe Facility Services. Zoe Facility Services has been contracted for your outsourced custodial services provider. We took that over about a year and a half ago. And tonight I've been asked and would be honored to provide an overview of what Center Grove Community School Corporation's custodial program has achieved in these last 18 months and where we believe it can go from here. Excellent, that's working. In this short time, we have cultivated relationships with principals, custodians, and key staff. Together, Center Grove Community School Corporation and Zoe Facility Services have worked continuously to improve your outsourced custodial program, and all efforts have made an impact that not only supports Center Grove Community School Corporation, but is also having a positive impact in our community as well. Let's take a look at why you chose us to begin with. To solve the outsourced cleanliness demands and drive the departmental success of your organization, since first outsourcing your custodial department in 2011, Center Grove Community School Corporation decided to implement Zoe's plan a year and a half ago. At this time, there were a few questions that were being asked of us and where we would go to try to solve or work with the in-house custodial department. And those questions were, will there be accessible and accountable management? How will we staff and train the personnel to fulfill the work? Will there be a collaborative approach between both the in-house and outsourced custodial departments? And will there be proactive communication? To the question, will there be accessible and accountable management? Our management team is local, hands-on, and deeply ingrained in all processes within Center Grove Community School Corporation. This approach to management assures that eyes are always on your work, your staff is being actively heard, and changes are able to be made quickly and effectively. Utilizing local management ensures that the work being done is cared for by members of the community who have a vested interest in our children and the cleanliness and safety of each facility. I'd like to take just a second to highlight a few of the people that work here with your in-house custodial department to help deliver on the overall objectives of operations for your facilities. Justin Rios is our operations manager and has been the account manager since startup. He lives locally in Greenwood area and has several family members who attend Center Grove schools. Jerica Carpenter is the area manager and directs the numerous team members in each building nightly. She has created a strong partnership with custodians and principals alike and is adored by her team. Her son attends Pleasant Grove. Mitch Wilson is the on-site high school supervisor. He is a Center Grove High School graduate, and his position in your facility has given him the ability to return to college and finish his degree. He will be leaving early this fall to attend Ball State University and will be continuing his education in nutritional and dietary studies. Matt Cruckton is the process manager who lives on the south side of Indianapolis. He has an incredible desire to see the community school system safe and secure. Matt is able to seamlessly step into roles in case of emergency or when management requests time off. To the question, how will we staff and train the personnel to fulfill the work? Our support staff system was created to ensure you never miss a day of service, and each facility is ready for faculty and students each new day. These employees are trained in every school and every route extensively. In the event of employee sickness, vacations, bereavement, or unoccupied positions, these employees can slip effortlessly into the vacancy without any disruption. All of our staff assigned to your facilities reside within 15 minutes of their assigned building, and each endure a rigorous training curriculum administered via classroom, online classes, and on-site training. Currently, we are providing you with 33 commercial cleaners assigned to permanent roles, 12 support staff members with the ability to flex and fill vacant positions. And we currently have 2 Center Grove Community School Corporation specific manager roles that oversee nightly operations. That's, as a total, is providing the custodial department with 47 outsourced custodians. Let's see. We take an invested approach with all of our employees. An average turnover rate for our industry, being an outsourced contracted janitorial company, is 200%, while we boast a current turnover rate of 21.9%, benefiting you with trained, skilled employees. To the question, will there be a collaborative approach between both in-house and outsourced custodial departments, and will there be proactive communication? At the beginning, lack of open, proactive, and transparent communication was a large concern when we first met with principals and custodians. From the start, we promised strong and healthy relationships with ongoing avenues of communication. Our commitment to deliver in this area was bolstered by your eager adoption of our SWEPT app technology, and that's been really helpful. I really appreciate you guys just being behind that and adopting it. We also instituted regular meetings with principals, custodians, and joint walkthroughs, which ensures that each facility is heard, understood, and cared for. Below are some figures to show how we delivered on that promise. So as of right now, we have 33 total SWEPT accounts assigned to custodians, principals, directors, and others. To date, in the 18 months, we've had 4,789 unique messages between Zoe and Center Grove cataloged within the SWEPT client portal. That's an average of 7.9 conversations per day. On average, SWEPT response time is 15.6 minutes, keeping you actively informed each day, just meaning whether or not it's a principal, lead custodian, or somebody else in the facility has access, they're hearing from us within 16 minutes. 761 email correspondences between Center Grove and Zoe Operation Department for an average of 1.3 emails per day. Additionally, we implemented an annual You Rock campaign where we had our team vote on lead custodians to do an excellent job working with us and teachers that are taking responsibility for the tidiness of their classroom. The winners were personally delivered handwritten thank you notes with personal gifts for the custodians and classroom supplies for the teachers. Up there on the slide, you can see some of the items that were delivered. I believe we ran a toll during the first of the year to figure out what supplies were most needed in classrooms during that time, and then we put our employees together to try to find those items for the teachers. And then the box down below, it's got a little mirror in it. That was really fun to deliver to the in-house custodians and really just acknowledge the work that they do and the work that we do together. So we had a lot of fun with it. We did it January of last year. We'll do it again January of this year. Since first deciding to outsource your custodial department in 2011, you are now finally able to achieve a high level of clean again in your facilities. Here are just a few touch points that are extraordinary. So what we did is we took all the individual items or specs for each facility that we're in here at Center Grove, and we just calculated it out over a year based on the times that we're in there cleaning. So for annual cleaning averages, there's over 2 million desks that are being cleaned, nearly 240,000 trash cans emptied, over 126,000 dispensers stocked and filled, 113,000 toilets and urinals. That's a lot. 62,000 sinks, 15,000 whiteboards, for a total of nearly 162 million square feet covered annually. To put that into comparison, there we go. The circumference of the globe is under 132 million square feet. In tandem with joint walkthroughs, Zoe Facility Services promised regular inspections performed by management with ongoing training and performance evaluations. Upon familiarizing ourselves with each building and the unique needs of the school system, we rolled out tracking metric referred to as client feedback scores. Feedback scores are created out of items brought to our attention through the in-house custodial department, principals, and other faculty. Since the implementation of this new source of data and our collective drive toward continuous improvement, we currently rest at a 2% margin between our internal scores and your assessments. Keeping in mind the annual cleaning averages just shared, you have achieved an average internal inspection score of 93.82%, an average client feedback score of 91.73%. False alarm. Okay, so what have we learned throughout this process is that Center Grove Community School Corporation doesn't just need an outsourced cleaning company that can deliver on the scope of the agreement. Center Grove Community School Corporation needs a revamped scope that clearly defines the duties and expectations of both the in-house and outsourced custodial departments. A new scope of service will improve the cleanliness and maintenance of its facilities, further aligning both departments while closing the communication and relationship gaps created in 2011 when Center Grove first began to outsource their custodial services. The primary objective is to consistently ensure clean and well-maintained facilities that mirror and reinforce Center Grove Community School Corporation's mission and objectives. In line with the responsibilities and expectations of the custodial services contract moving forward, Zoe Facility Services will continue to collaborate with Center Grove Community School Corporation's Director of Operations, Rick Peterson, To identify effectiveness, efficiencies, and the improvements that foster sustainable and scalable best practices, both in-house and outsourced custodial programs. In a joint effort with Center Grove Community School Corporation Director of Operations, Rick Peterson, we will compare and analyze both the in-house and outsourced custodial programs management, documentation, and best practices as they pertain to achieving the cleanliness objectives of each facility established by Center Grove Community School Corporation. Moving forward, our continued commitment, one, will build off our current relationships within the corporation to further establish continuity between our two firms. Two, we'll follow through on the execution of the corporation's strategic plan for the overall care of each facility and its occupants. Both Center Grove Community School Corporation and Zoe Facility Services want safe, clean, and healthy facilities that foster exceptional learning environments that preserve their facility assets. Three, Zoe will conduct ongoing monthly site visits that may include the Center Grove Community School Corporation's Director of Operations, principals, lead custodians, and additionally, Zoe Facility Service stakeholders will internally conduct regular site visits with our operations manager, supervisors, area manager, and cleaning staff to ensure quality and alignment are maintained both in-house and outsourced custodial programs. Four, we'll investigate and follow through on concerns as they arise while refining practices to improve service delivery. And five, we will continue to work directly with each principal and lead custodian regarding each school's calendar, special programs, and scheduled projects to enable collaborative efforts between both parties to ensure that services are delegated appropriately. To conclude, with clear expectations, accountability, and standards being set, Center Grove Community School Corporation will close the gap, gain support, and achieve its cleanliness goals. The Center Grove Community School Corporation is going to be the only premier school district that has successfully outsourced its custodial services while maintaining the integrity of the relationships required to achieve the corporation's primary vision and mission. Henry Ford said, "Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success." It truly has been a great opportunity this last year and a half, and we're looking forward to the future. Thank you. Would you like me to open it up for questions?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody on the board have?
Can I ask just a couple of questions?
Sure.
Thanks for this presentation.
Yeah.
I appreciate the time you put into it and the information that you provided to us. Couple questions. You talked about you have local management, you listed several people.
Mhm.
And then later on, you said you have ongoing site visits, this is monthly, is what you said. For all the people that you listed that were managers,
Mhm.
how often are they actually in our buildings per week or per month to inspect the work themselves? How
Sure.
often are they in?
Well, we have two that are here every day. That would be Jerica and Mitch. So Jerica is area manager specifically over the school system. This is the only account that she's assigned to. So she's directly responsible for the 46 people beneath her, including the supervisor at the high school. We've made the high school kind of our control. So regardless of where turnover and things are in the district, training and things takes place at the high school to make sure it's always consistent and a standard. Mitch doesn't leave the high school unless we're having some sort of meeting throughout the district where we bring other people. So Mitch stays there. Justin, our operations manager, I know has regular conversations and visits with Mr. Peterson as well as our team. The way we schedule our weeks is, so Justin works during the day, our operations manager. Tuesdays, he spends in late nights out here in the field visiting with our employees and different management that work at night. So I'm going to say two of them are here every day. One of them is somewhere on this property once a week and visiting every school within a month.
Thanks. And then you talked about the 33 commercial cleaners, 12 support staff. Are they assigned just to Center Grove schools, or they do other buildings as well? Are they focused, this is kind of their full-time place?
Those 47 people are just for Center Grove Community School Corporation.
Okay. And the surveys were kind of interesting to me, the feedback. So is that something that, whenever you talk about the client feedback,
Mhm.
are those surveys that you guys wrote and created and you send out and get the results, or is that something that the school corporation does and gives you the results?
So we've tried surveys in the past. People don't typically really want to spend a lot of time on them. So the way we've done it is we've built an inspection, internal inspection and external coming from you. So feedback that comes from the school is in line with what the scope of services for the agreement is. So let's say Kyle, the lead custodian over at the high school, makes mention about some stock that's not done in the restroom down on it. That's coming back directly onto us and affecting our overall score. And then I'm not the guy who writes the math for it, but I know there's also some temperature variances. So the way that we would inspect a score, for example, I listed, I don't remember how many trash cans it is tonight, but let's just say it's 1,000. If we miss 3 or 4 trash cans from an internal inspection, it's not going to show up as a very negative effect on our overall service, right? But the 4 teachers that didn't have their trash emptied, it's a pretty significant impact on their operations when they come in. So there's a weighted variance to make sure that what we're getting as client feedback is relative to how you guys feel. Does that help? Does that?
Yeah, that
Okay.
gives me an idea. And then, my last question is just, you talked about some generalities of, moving forward, and these are the things that we
Mhm.
wanna do, which is fine, but specifically, what areas do you think your company and your staff can improve to provide even better service to our schools and better cleanliness, more time? What specific things do you think you guys can do to improve?
Well, summer is still posing to be a bit of a struggle for us to work on the different calendars and get everything under control there. We think we come in with a good plan, and it's hard to adjust on the curveballs. So we still have some work to do with managing calendars between the individual schools. There's kind of sensitive, the in-house custodial department does an exceptional amount of work, and they do a great job of serving the needs of the teachers and the students. It's a bit of a challenge for us to understand how they communicate with us and how we communicate with them on needs and expectations, and we don't really have authority there, and trying to figure out and bridge some of this, what I refer to as gaps, really understanding how we can work better moving forward, I think will help clear things up. So yeah, I mean, some of the additions of support staff have been what we've done in the past, and think that this year is going to be the best year that we've had here at the school. Just having more support staff available for turnover and PTO and things like that, so.
Okay, that's all I got right now.
Any other questions? I've got a couple. First off, thanks for taking the time to put this together.
Absolutely.
You talked about the 47, it's 47 positions.
Yep.
Are all 47 staffed currently?
Yes.
Okay, so I know one of the things when we were going through the RFP process, we talked, you guys touted your low turnover rate. I mean, has that 21% held true at Center Grove? Has it been a little
Actually,
worse, a little better?
That is just for Center Grove.
Okay.
Yeah, so those numbers are specifically, the inspection scores, the turnover rate, or retention rate is all specifically for you.
Awesome. And then as part of that, I like your last quote here, the working together is success, and you talked about some of the gaps, and as part of, continuing the partnership, it starts at the top, and I would like to extend an invite potentially for you and Dr. Arkanoff and Mr. Peterson and Dr. Long and one of the other board members, because it can't be more than 2 of us, to continue that, maybe sit down over lunch and have a discussion about how to further strengthen the partnership. I mean, that starts at the top, and it will work its way down, and I learned a few things on my request for this meeting, and I think it would be good for that group of people I just suggested to sit and have a
That'd be great.
conversation.
I think it'd be great. I think we're in a dynamic county. I mean, you guys know this. I think, you're adding schools and space, and there's just a lot of moving pieces, and being able to keep that conversation going, how we're gonna adjust to it and forecast, I think would be time well spent.
So I'm going to ask Dr. Arkanoff there to take the lead on getting that group together.
Okay.
Absolutely, I'll ask Mrs. Parker to get something going.
I knew where that was going to go, but I was going to let Rich take the initiative.
So we just learned it starts at the top, but it trickles down.
Pretty quickly.
Thanks, Craig.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, public comments.
No public comments this evening. Can you do that? All right, next up is the consent agenda. Dr. Arkanoff.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. This evening, I'm recommending the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Next up, action items. Dr. Arkanoff, approve high reliability school surveys.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. This evening, I'm recommending that the board approve the high reliability schools surveys, and I believe that Dr. Parker is going to provide you with some additional information.
Yes, thank you so much. Dr. Davenhart, principal of Center Grove Middle School North, and Craig Smith, principal of Center Grove Middle School Central, are part of the Indiana Principal Leadership Institute. This is a 2-year program for practicing principals. Year 1 of the program is focused on individual professional development, networking, and action research. Year 2 focuses on school improvement. And for a large part of learning for institute principals, IPLI has partnered with the Marzano Research to study the High Reliability Schools framework. This framework is an assemblage of practices that promote elements necessary to guarantee that all students learn at high levels. Because there's not a common school improvement framework being used by all schools in Indiana, IPLI is simply using the HRS framework as a means to create a common school improvement language to use throughout Year 2. At a minimum, the surveys will be administered to the faculty and administration in the building level only. However, many IPLI participants may also choose to administer surveys to parents, especially for level 1, due to the unique nature of safety and collaboration. Safety and collaboration is level 1, and that typically will take place at the end of the school year as they roll into Year 2. Effective teaching is level 2, and that is typically administered in the early part of the school year, with level 3 being administered just before Thanksgiving, and that's the guaranteed and viable curriculum. Now, we found that this seems to be an annual request to the board because we have so many great principals participating in the Institute. I'm taking this opportunity to provide you with an example, maybe even an exemplar, of what our principals can do with this information. I've asked Krista Nelson, principal at Center Grove Elementary School and recent graduate of IPLI Group 4, to share with you actual data from her High Reliability School Level 1 survey, Safe and Collaborative Culture, and what action she took to make school-wide improvements in developing a more safe and collaborative culture. And I'll turn things over to Mrs. Nelson.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity this evening to talk about some of the great work that we're doing at Center Grove Elementary School. Last year was my final year in IPLI, and so a lot of our work happened during the 17-18 school year, but this turned out to be such a great thing for our school community that we are actually continuing some of the work into the 18-19 school year. So in May 2017, we had surveys for students, staff, and parents. All of our students in grades 1st through 5th grade took it. All of our staff took the survey. We had over 300 parent surveys that were returned. Based off of those surveys, we decided that we needed to start from level 1, and that was the safe and collaborative atmosphere. When we looked at all of our domain areas, because there are quite a few, this is on a score of 1 to 5, we had quite a few areas that were in the 4 and 5 range. But our lowest area was domain 1.6, and that was students, parents, and community have formal ways to provide input regarding the optimal functioning of the school. I brought that to our leadership team, and from there we came up with a wondering, and that wondering was, if we provide more parent-family opportunities and using social media, will it increase our parent participation in the functions of our school? And that's where our project took off. Again, we started collecting that data. We have underneath those domain areas, there's some 5 or 6 substandards. We used 5 of them. And you can see on a score of 5 being the max, we were at an average of 2 to 3. And so we knew that this was an area that we needed to look at. Our parents didn't know how their opinions affected school decisions. We didn't host virtual town meetings or monthly meetings to include our parents. We didn't have focus groups going on. Our social networking we thought was up and going and was pretty strong, but according to our community, that was something we needed to work on. And then they also wanted to know, My school leaders asked for my opinion and how the school should function. We took that survey again in March after we implemented some projects. And it was a great learning opportunity because, as you can see, all of our areas went up. Except for question number 4. And question number 4 was all about social media. And again, one was given in May of one year, another one was given in March. So you never know about the timing of the year if that made a difference, but you can see that we had significant differences in the other sub-questions that we had tackled for last year. And some of the projects that we did, we grouped them together. So question number 1 was all about understanding school decisions and school leaders asking about my opinion. We gave different surveys throughout the year. Some are about curriculum, some are about safe and collaborative atmosphere. We listed those results in our monthly newsletter. We sent it out in emails. We were very open to our parents, and then we also let them know, because there was an area for them to ask questions, we answered those questions so that our parents knew the answers to specific things, especially with the safety of the school. We also hosted virtual meetings last year and conducting focus groups. Now, through HRS, the virtual town hall meetings would be something like this. We're here, it's being live streamed out on the web, but then people at home have a chance to send in questions, and those things are answered by the board as they're sitting in the comfort of their home. A lot of school districts just don't have that technology, and so we kind of did our own thing. We did host a variety of them, and these were all based off of things that our parents wanted. They wanted more information about report cards. They wanted information about the assessments. They wanted to host a meeting about safety and what are some of the safety things that we're doing in our schools. They wanted to experience iStep and iRead3, so we opened up 2 computer labs, and we had parents come in and they did experience iStep online. Great turnout with those monthly meetings. And then our third focus area was using social network to communicate. Through our data, we found out that our parents follow Twitter, but not as much as Facebook. We are a Facebook community. And so last year, we focused on 180 days of learning. All of our announcements and events were through that. And over, you can see December 2nd to March 7th, we had over 4,541 page views. We had 569 more Facebook friends during that time too, so that was nice. But what has been really nice to see is I just checked last night, and from last year at this time, our page rate of views is up 334%. So the work that we did last year is still continuing to this year. So what we learned, there is never such a thing as over-communicating. We thought we were communicating enough, but we need to do it in a variety of ways. Not everybody is connected to social media. Not everybody has an email account, believe it or not, but they don't. So we've got to get it out there in print. We need to do email, social media. It has to be 2 to 3 weeks in advance. If we would send something out for a monthly meeting, a month in advance, we would not have hardly anyone show up. The magic number is 2 to 3 weeks in advance, and we would have a huge amount of people at that event. Community members will watch more videos, so we are taping a lot on Facebook and YouTube. They'll click on those links on those 2 sites, but they won't click on links that go to a different site. So Facebook and YouTube is the way our group is kind of focused on. And then our monthly focus group meetings are very well attended, so we're going to continue that. So for this year, we're going to continue with our level 1, safe in a collaborative atmosphere. One of the things that we're doing that our team came up with, and our parents were very instrumental in getting this up and going for us, is they want to help our kids. They want to help their students, but sometimes there's the CG way of teaching things. And so with the help of Stacy Conrad, we have developed Learn CG. And these are videos that our staff has put together on how to teach our parents how to help our kids
Hello,
at
my
home.
name is Bobby Peterson. I'm a 3rd grade teacher at Center Grove Elementary School. One of the trickiest skills that 3rd graders need to learn to do is to find elapsed time. So today I'm going to show you a strategy that we teach students to help them figure out how to find an elapsed time from a story problem. Lexi Wilson is here to demonstrate for us today. So Lexi's going to show us what the strategy we use to find elapsed time. So the problem is Tony's basketball practice started at 5:20 and ended at 8:40. How long was Tony's practice? So Lexi is showing us a T-chart. She puts the beginning time on one side, 5:20, and the ending time, 8:40, on the other side. The first thing Lexi is going to do is find out how many hours have elapsed. So she'll start at 5:20 and add 1 hour, and she sees that that is 6:20, and she labels the other side 1 for 1 hour. Then she'll go to the next hour, 6:20, 7:20, 2 hours. Can we go to 8:20? So she adds another hour, 3 hours. Can we go to 9:20? No, that would be too far. So she'll draw her line, and she knows now that it is 3 hours that have elapsed. Now she'll work on minutes. So she starts at 8:20 and adds 5 minutes. 8:25, and then she'll continue until she gets to 8:40.
So we have a variety of these
Adding in
videos that have
5-minute
been made.
increments and
I've
keeping
called it-
track
we've called
on
it
the right
Learn
side of the
CG.
T-chart.
These are accessible through YouTube. We've got them on our website, and we also have a lot of other videos that we want to get out there to support our
And she
students.
gets up to 8:40,
And parents and community.
and that's where she needs to stop. So she'll draw her line, and then she'll look at the right side of her chart to find her answer. The elapsed time is 3 hours
Go back to it and stop it.
and 20 minutes.
You want to find out how to do it, a
Yeah, I
T-chart
wanna get
to
all the
elapsed
way
He's
time?
waiting for the answer.
Yeah, I want to see if I got the right answer.
You can go to YouTube and you can Google or YouTube search. Another thing is they wanted more access with time to talk about, some hot topics that are going on in the school. And so very similar to what Dr. Arkanoff does with his coffee with the superintendent, we have implemented breakfast with the principal on a bi-monthly basis, and that will start in September. I will have some things to give to them, to tell them about all the great things that are going on at CGES, but it's also a time that they will be able to ask us questions. One of the things that we wanted to do this year is last year we focused on the learning, and this year we wanted to focus on our VIPs of CGES to get that personal touch to it. And so this is Joseph, and so if you check out our Facebook page or Instagram page, you're going to find a VIP of CGES every day. And that VIP is someone that makes our school very special and unique. And Joseph is a 5th grade student who the smile just never goes away all day long. And so if you're having a bad day, you just need to go get a Joseph hug and a Joseph smile, and your day will be wonderful. So definitely check that out. We've gotten a lot of great feedback with our VIP of CGES. And then we're also... I know. And you're not picky, that's good. I know, he is. He's such a sweet kid, and I love it. He's really looking at the future and wants to be a missionary or doctor. So throughout this, I've learned a lot about people as well. And then we're also going to continue those focus groups and parent outreach. Our parents for this year have talked a lot about some of the things we did last year, but some of the new things they want to talk about, of course, is I Learn, but summer learning opportunities. They want to make sure that learning doesn't end on that last day of school, and how we can work as a community to make sure that there are a lot of learning opportunities through June and July for our students. So that was our level 1, HRS. A lot of great information that came out of it, strengthening our communication. It lays the foundation for everything else that we're doing with PLCs, and we're excited to continue this. And our next step is possibly to look at that effective teaching that we've got going on in all of our classrooms. So, any questions from the board? Oh, thank you. Well, it took a team. It's a team effort. I've got my partner in crime, Kristen Rodman, here today, assistant principal. So it's a team effort, and the CGES staff has been wonderful with implementing these things. I'm going to have to remember that. That's a great idea. That's a wonderful idea. Correct.
And are you working with the other principals?
So this is part of the Indiana Principal Leadership Institute, and as a member of that, this was a requirement for her to do. We have 2 principals currently going through it.
Middle school.
Correct, and we have 4 or 5 others that have gone through it, starting from Group 1. So this is really tied with the Indiana Principal Leadership Institute.
So
is this something that we're trying to get in all buildings, or, I mean,
Is there a
consistent?
reason it can't be expanded to the other? Is there a reason it can't be expanded based on this model? I mean, you see what I'm saying? I understand what Jack's saying, because as a parent at this school, our experience, because we're now in 3 and 4 at that school, is tremendously different than when our children started that school in, the mid-2000s with the communication bill. I mean, it's small things too, but it's almost overwhelming in a great way as a parent. The amount of, it's not just the communication, that's really not the point. The point is I think sometimes schools, not on purpose, they put out there a little bit of, we don't care as much about you parents as we should, and just here it is, and oh, by the way, you can do this, and it feels like we have to communicate with you. This is a literal change in how parents feel about how they are treated and approached by the school. It's hard to, I'm doing a very good job saying how this is. It's just a different, it's almost a different respect level, frankly, for parents and parents' time. This type of communication has been sent out and how they do it. And I'm not saying schools were disrespectful before. I said it's a higher level of respect. Most parents I know, especially at Center Grove, because this is where my children go, have felt over time that they've kind of been pushed aside, not really heard, and yeah, okay, we'll see about that. This is an active engagement where they're bringing parents on as partners, and that's different, and that's important, and there's a reason why there's such a high rate of participation things, because parents feel like it matters. They feel like they actually have a voice. They feel like people are listening to them and not just saying, oh, sure, but you don't understand what we really do here. We know best, and that's fine that you say that. It's a different level of, it's just a different relationship, frankly. I know I'm not doing a good job, Chris, explaining this, but you know what I'm saying, because it really is the whole thing is there some, so I understand what Mr. Russell's saying. I get where it's coming from, but I feel that the whole school district would benefit on this, because if you start getting parents at this level, showing them this involvement, this respect, I'm not saying they were disrespectful before, I'm saying it's a higher level, that feeds into the middle school and the high schools. Because, when you go back to school night at the high school and some of the teachers say there, well, a lot of parents, they don't really care about any of this. In a room full of parents, they say, wow, most parents are not really that involved anyways. When you've got a school full of people, you go to Perry and it's empty half on these back to school nights. That's what I'm talking about. You don't get that at Center Grove Elementary, at this type of involvement of it. And it's just made it more of a community feel as well. Like, hey, we talk all the time, Center Grove, we don't have a town. Our schools are our community. This is action that makes it feel like this is our community. And so first of all, I'm just really thrilled to see it. And I go, like you guys know, I go all around the state. I'll do all sorts of things with different people and different groups, and this is unusual for Center Grove anyways. This additional level is even more unusual. And I think that if you guys can find a way to do this, I think that it should be implemented in the other schools, regardless of this. I hate all these names. I have no idea what the Principal Institute or whatever it's called. I just think it's to be something to really look into, and because I think that if our point is to help educate our kids and you want parents more involved, which also helps get the education level up. These videos, I've watched the videos with Bobby before and everything, and they do help, because some things are different than when we learned them. So I agree with Mr. Russell on this, on how, if you can find a way, try to find a way. Because this is important, because I think sometimes we get wrapped up in our school level of different things that on the ground level with parents, they're like, yeah, that sounds nice, that's kind of big ideas, but the details is where it really matters, and and these things show detail and care.
I'm always concerned about the equality, but on the other side, inequities between, let's just say, our elementaries. When that nasty word redistricting comes up, the immediately competition between, especially elementaries, this one's better, this one's not, blah, blah. So whenever you have a program that is so outstanding, I mean, when I saw this and went through it earlier and then saw it again tonight for your presentation, it really just pops. And as he has stated, so easy for parents to watch up at all levels, because we have all level of parent. And especially to be able to take the videos like we have, thanks to Stacy, and get those around the district so that we have kids that move from Sugar Grove down to Maple Grove or whatever, it's still there. They didn't leave behind this wonderful thing because they left Center Grove Elementary and moved into Maple Grove District. So this is just one of those programs I really would like to see as quickly as possible spread throughout
So-
the schools.
So, completely agree, but the one thing I like that Krista and the team at Center Grove Elementary did, they reached out to their particular parent group to find out what was important. And I don't like to say one size fits all, but I'm not convinced that one size fits all will fit with each elementary school, because I think each small community will have a different need and a different type of assessment of how they communicate and those types of things. So I like the approach you took about asking some of those leading questions, and I think that is key when we go to implement this at the other schools. I would not just drop, boom, what Krista
No,
did
it
in.
needs to
There's
be,
a
yeah.
framework here that I think is awesome. And I know sometimes we see a great program like this and we say, oh, we gotta replicate that in 5 schools. I don't know that we should exactly replicate it. I think there's a framework here, and I think that's the piece of the puzzle that is key to this equation, is going and asking those groups what they feel the gaps are. That's what I like about what has been done here.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I am thoroughly excited about the conversation, and I'm very appreciative of your thoughts. You know, I'm a part of IPLI. I was part of Group 1, and I'm currently part of Group 5. And so we've had over 300 principals go through it. And the High Reliability School Framework is a great assemblage of phenomenal practices that all schools use pieces of. We do a lot of it. We chose to move away from advanced data accreditation because it didn't align with the work that we knew we needed to do. And we're, of course, studying this as a potential accreditation model, if that's what we choose to use. There were some at the DOE early this week, 30-some, and this is one of them. My response would be, I've seen hundreds of principals use pieces of this. It's a tool. I love the tool, obviously, but it's a tool. And Mrs. Nelson and her team has figured out how to use that tool really, really well. And it's helped her and helped her school, and we're thrilled with it. So it's absolutely something we're continuing to learn more about. And we are also, many of the aspects within the High Reliability School Framework are things that we are focusing on and have been for 3 years.
Is there a form of this for high school level?
This fits all levels.
Okay.
It's a framework.
I don't have a lot to add, but I will applaud the efforts and echo everything that they've added. And I think you talk, not only at the education level, but the ECA level, to other folks, and they say that's kind of what sets Center Grove apart, is the fact that we have parents involved. The fact that the parents are, knowing what the kids are up to, knowing what's going on in the schools. And I think the more we can implement this at the elementary level, we then hope that those parents stay involved at the middle school level and at the high school level. So while I think we need it everywhere, I'd like to focus on the elementary, get those where they need to be, and then those kids are gonna get older. It's, except for us, we don't get older, just the kids. But as we all get older, and as those kids come up, if they have this basic framework that Krista and Jack, you're doing a great job of implementing at one elementary school to spread to others, and it's the process. Each school's gonna have different needs, it's the process. But then that becomes part, of our culture, it becomes part of who we are, and just an additional way to pull the parents in, an additional way to build the community of Center Grove. I mean, I think this is awesome.
Rob brings a good point, Mr. Daniels brings a good point there.
Jack, Rob's fine.
You got elementary parents who are used to using this tool, and all once they move, they're expecting that tool in the middle school, and it's not. So obviously we are working on it, but we might hit there in the freshman year with that tool. So, good work.
Thank you very much.
So you obviously need, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mrs. Toomey.
Thank you.
All right, you need us to take action on something tonight, some surveys? Is that what you were after?
And I'd like to point out that we usually bring these surveys, this has been done before
Right.
in the corporation, but we'd like to do more of a blanket so that we can not have to bring them over and over again throughout the year. So this
Tonight's
recommendation,
written up as a blanket.
that's
Yes.
correct. Because other principals have used this survey in the last few years.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I would like to move that we approve the high reliability school surveys.
Thank you, Mr.
Second. Oh, go ahead, Ms.
Thank you, Mrs. Toomey. We have a motion and a second. All those, any more discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Next up, Dr. Arkanoff, approved teacher appreciation grants policy.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. This evening, I'm recommending that the board approve the teacher appreciation grant policy, and Dr. Gabriel will provide you with some additional information.
Thank you. House Enrolled Act 1001 from a few years ago provides for teacher appreciation grants to be distributed to schools for teachers who are rated highly effective and effective. And one of the newer requirements of this grant is that the board annually adopt a policy on the amount of the stipends that are given to its highly effective and effective teachers. So basically the concept here is that the state provides money to each school district. We then provide that in the form of a cash stipend to teachers. And this policy was first adopted last year. It was the first year that a policy was required. And we're asking the board to adopt the policy again. And as she has highlighted on this, or as she shows at the top of the second page, that really says what we're doing. The cash stipend is provided and distributed to all teachers in the corporation that are rated as effective, and a cash stipend in an amount no less than 25% more is provided to teachers that are rated as highly effective. And that's language that is taken right out of the law. And similarly, the rest of the language on this page is taken right out of the law. So we are basically adopting a policy that says we're going to follow what the law tells us to do. It is word for word exactly the way it was last year, except that we had to change one code citation. Every other word in this policy is exactly the same as what we did a year ago. So we're asking the board to approve this policy this evening.
I'm assuming this has been through discussions with UTAG and they're on board?
We have, Mrs. Hoover has talked to them about this issue of adopting this policy, and yes, they are on board.
Awesome, thank you. All right, do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move we approve the teacher appreciation grants policy.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Toomey. We have a motion and a second. Wow. Any
Y'all
other,
right down there.
any other questions? Discussion?
Not really much discuss when the state tells us what we're going to do.
I was a little surprised it took us so long to get a motion and a second on this.
Well, I didn't want to move or second because we're being told what to do. It was my obstinance.
That's your form of protest. That's awesome. All right, all those in favor? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed. Motion passes 5-0. That was funny, Rob.
Thank you, yeah.
That was awesome. All right, any other business to come before the board this evening? Mr. Norman?
Nope.
Mr. Daniels?
Not tonight.
Mr. Russell?
Mrs. Rico was supposed to send me stuff and I didn't get it as far as what's coming up with
Okay.
foundation, so, no.
Mrs. Toomey?
Oh, I do.
No, too late.
So sorry.
No, we've passed you. I'm sorry.
I do want to announce the Alumni and Friends, able to order T-shirts, whatever you want, and you can order one of one through Jostens, and you can order different levels. Anyway, the nice thing is you can go on there. It is through the foundation link, and I'm not sure we got it any other place. I have to talk to Stacy. Anyway, you can go on there and you can order all sorts of things, and it will have they have the Alumni and Friends logo now, and for a polo shirt, you can get it on the back of a hairbrush that was $38, we noticed. You all have to have one. And,
I'll get one of those.
so, I thought of you. Anyway.
Of course.
Bill and I'll be the first two to
The
order.
very nice thing about it is, a lot of places you have to order 20 shirts to get a deal or whatever. You order this shirt, they fix it, it comes to your house. So that's the really cool thing about it, on that one. So, be looking for that, and the money goes to the Alumni and Friends.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Just one update, and I'm not sure many folks here might care about the statement, but as part of one of my additional duties, I'm the advisory school board member of the Greenwood Redevelopment Commission, and just as a worthy note, they actually spent the first $100,000 of the Southwest TIF grant, which is the TIF, the Kroger down 135. They took $100,000 to allocate towards the new fire station behind Freedom Park. So they are starting to spend some of that money down. Thought I'd let Dr. Gabriel know that as well. So,
And I would like that.
your turn's over.
Indiana School Board Association is sponsoring the fall conference, and we'll be attending that. We're learning things about what's going on.
All right, announcements. August 30th, high school parent-teacher conferences, 4 to 7:45 p.m. September 3rd, holiday, no school. September 20th is our next regular board meeting, and we're adjourned.
Wait a minute, I got another, no.